Thank you very much, Veli. And it is.
I think the map's Bank, John. Do you think it's Bank?
Yeah, it is.
Possibly Bank.
It is Bank, indeed. So we're going to be heading into the new and improved Bank for the very first time in pro play, at least as far as NA is concerned, here today between Beast Coast and TSM. And now that we've made it here, it's obviously going to shake up this match quite a bit. Beast Coast with a new young gunner on their team already showing some good results in the first week of play. And TSM, their best gunner, struggling a little bit after showcasing himself in one good round and faltering afterwards in their opening match. So what exactly is on the docket for this matchup today, Stokes?
Well, I feel like you could say the same for TSM across the board inside of that last game, John. No one really showing up at all. And honestly, in the slightest, I mean, the highest rated player being Shala at a .89. Oxygen just had a banger of a game, honestly. 7-3 for them. So honestly, for TSM, I think this is going to be the bounce back.
We do have our community poll, though. Once again, this rookie came in and made some noise in his first R6 NAL showing. Will young Alec be able to beat Bolo on the scoreboard today, though, is our question. Feel free to submit your vote either here on the Twitch chat or on one of the many social media platforms where you can do so. Our usual @ is going to be @R6 Esports NA. Go ahead and submit your vote, and we'll have the results along with whether you were correct or not, more importantly, a little bit later on when we go back to the desk with Veli and the rest of the boys. With that out of the way, though, we can look towards the match as we are pretty much ready to get started.
Yes, we are indeed. Very close to dusting off Bank here in the NAL. Outside of the EUL games that have been played inside of Stage 3, we haven't seen a Bank game. I looked this up since January 6th of 2020. That's right after I shaved Parker's head bald in Canada.
Right.
So I always remember that when I go back and
context,
broadcast. Well, I mean, listen, everyone remembers when Parker was bald. I mean, there was only like one time.
That's an interesting hallmark to market by. More than
there was Bank went away, and Parker grew his hair back,
Parker
and now
shaved his head.
well, now it's just so long, it's just so luscious. It's ridiculous. But no, we're going to get Bank here in between Beast Coast and TSM, and we're going to have to dust off the comms for this one as well, John. Should be pretty fun, but, TSM up against Beast Coast today, honestly, this could be a pretty scary matchup for TSM, given what Beast Coast was able to do last week. You already talked about young Alec, but I feel like across the board, this team really impressed from what we saw inside of Stage 2, so I'm looking to see more of that today.
This is kind of the storyline for a lot of our teams, it seems, is the ones that we weren't expecting to be able to pull off too much here, considering the results in Stage 1 and 2 are rocketing forward yet again here, with Beast Coast having a good first result, as well as the Sonics up until today continuing to do well, and then now even Xset having their first good game, at the cost of the Sonics, obviously, but everybody trying to step up and earn as much of a position as possible to, more importantly, avoid relegation as we get towards the end of the year, but also try to get as many of those SI points as possible to stay competitive and try to earn a slot the final major of the year after this stage finishes off as well. I think we're just waiting on 1 or 2 players to ready up, folks, and then we're good to get started. We do have all 10 players in the lobby, so I think we're just waiting on a small tech issue or something like that, and then we should be good to get things going with our very first Bank game of the NAL since its removal a little over a year ago. And it's had some big changes since then, mostly to a lot of the aesthetics on this map. For instance, a lot of the bars and more difficult angles to deal with of things that usually would be destructible in other maps have now been either removed entirely or changed out the destructible material, as we saw in the, obviously, as we saw in the highlight, and as you guys have seen in game now over the past couple of weeks.
Don't worry, John, I've got this. Do you remember all of the annoying aspects of Bank? Like, literally every single one of them.
I was trying to explain it with a little bit more,
like... They're all gone. They're
nuance,
all of them, basically. I mean, what else are you going to say? Like, all of the skylight angles are gone. All of the bars downstairs are gone. It's just overall a cleaner map. So thank you to Ubisoft for cleaning up Bank, because it is a really, really strong map right now. I actually really enjoyed playing it once again. I enjoyed playing it before, but playing around like lobby and stuff like that is, well, back in the day, was just absurd to even try and do. You're more than likely going to die, and it's just not fun. This time around, it's a little bit easier to play in that space. You can still have control over it over the windows, but we will get more into that in game, because you're going to be seeing a lot of play throughout all of this. And for some of the newer R6 viewers, this might be a map that you've never seen before. So it's going to be a good time, folks. Buckle in, grab the popcorn. We're starting things right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the first play on Bank. Let's get into it. It's Beast Coast versus TSM. Still in our regular season here, so no make or break potential or qualification to come from this matchup, but still early days means early points and potentially an early lead on the overall standings for the leagues. You still want to do well. 3 points for a win, 2 points for an overtime win, 1 point for an overtime loss, and 0 if you lose in regulation. First ban up on the board, it's from Beast Coast, and they'll get the final defender ban as well as they follow the usual meta here and take out Thatcher.
Yes, indeed. Now, back in the day, we used to see a couple of different bans in this slot. It was usually either Hibana, mostly because of her Hatch Queen presence that we've known for quite some time now, especially on a map like Clubhouse, or Maverick. Now, Maverick's going to stay in here, so you're more than likely going to see a lot of Hatch work from him, so we'll see what else gets taken off the board. We're into defenders now, and Valkyrie will be the first one removed. Again, pretty self-explanatory. Her application to bank is actually pretty strong. There's a lot of creative spaces for her to work. Same as Mira. This is one of her best maps, honestly, especially for her downstairs defense, where she makes playing Red Hall just a breeze.
So the bans are actually going to be incredibly similar to what we would usually get on the old bank. In fact, pretty much in line with what we would generally get exactly from a ban pool there. So no changes, and that aligns pretty well because thematically, I think this map is very much still the same. As Stokes was saying, though, a lot of the trickier elements of this map have either been changed up now to ease the access for one side, or they've been removed completely. And we'll start to see that very obviously as we load into Basement for the first time, and we show you a pretty major change to how that part of the map will work out.
Yeah, you're more than likely going to see some more, workings of the second and third floor from the defense specifically. This is something that was extremely difficult back in the day because of the amount of different angles that you could just simply adopt from the roof or from the windows over in lobby, and you'd have somebody like Jackal just clear the entire floor, and anybody that tries to run out just dies. You can't get down marble, you can't get down square, and if you go to the front lobby, you're dead. So what are you going to do? Okay, well, you're just not going to play upstairs, and you're more than likely going to try to stick to the second floor, maybe show some face, or maybe even not. You might even just play downstairs and then just leave. But as you can see already from Beast Coast, we're already getting some action here. This is something that we saw quite often back in the day with the castle plays coming in, especially around the E1 hallway. And for those of you that are new, once again, we'll cover all of this stuff. Do not worry. E1 and E2 and even E3, if you do comment like that, is the 1, 2, and 3 difference. I know, it's a little confusing.
You're like, they're gone, dude, they're gone.
Hold on. Before you get them too confused, John. So first would be the basement, second would be the mid-floor, and third would be the top floor, all for the same elevator hallway that you're staring at right here. So if you ever hear us say E1, E2, or E3, that's going to be those respective callouts. Either way, though, we're into the game for the very first time here, as we'll have TSM on the offensive side.
Not going to be too surprising to see the castle coming into the fold. The castle oftentimes a gatekeeper for these basement attacks, specifically from the more direct angles which have been used in the past. There is another one which can be used to block off the main hallway, which defenders were using in the past to fend off aggression as well. Speaking of aggression, we've got quite a bit of it lined up potentially from Sippin there down the double window run out, but is not going to be able to deploy towards anything. Just as Yetl, they'll get a chance a few seconds later here. Achieved, trying to challenge it and losing quite a bit of HP as a result of that challenge taken against Sippin. Sippin will be forced away, but still very much in the neighborhood. Tries to bring out the ECR Jammer, but it's not going to work out. Achieved has him locked. He's going to be able to take him down. Bolo followed up with a second entry as well, so things are starting out very clean for TSM here, as neither of those players are going to be tradable.
On Beast Coast, already feeling the wrath of Bank and an upside-down repel from Achieve. The secondary frag from Bolo coming in from those front lobby windows like we were talking about before. So already getting very creative on their clear here. And now this is all ran into a couple of issues here for Beast Coast. Also, another update to this map. These railings have been changed out, folks, so they're no longer stone. You can actually shoot through them, so it makes all of those rail fights a heck of a lot easier around the map for these stairwells. Now for TSM, clear still going on. Bolo will be able to take down yet another as Anthony will falter, and another kill for Bolo. Merc tags on.
All right, so we're going to be jumping back in to round number 2 now. We'll see if TSM can keep that up. Bolo with that great spray. Coming back in there to finish things off, as Stokes was mentioning. You might not have heard it, but either way, having to spray their way in and quickly correct things. Make sure that they closed out with relative ease. And in fact, they do that job pretty well. We're going to go into a quick tactical pause here, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to just need a moment here while we quickly fix whatever the issue is. Probably just the HUD bug or something. It looks like the player already disconnected, is in the process of reconnecting. So as soon as they reboot their client, it should be good. We are not doing a full-on rehost, so it should be a pretty short delay here. In fact, we got the player back in the lobby now. As soon as they confirm that they are good, we will continue on with the action. and bring things back into the fold here. But a convincing first round for TSM, arguably a bit of an over-aggressive one for Beast Coast, but the first time on this map in nearly over a year. You can't blame them, as obviously play styles are going to be very hard to read into, given the amount of time it's been since these two teams have played, specifically each other, but just in general on this map outside of scrims.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing there for Beast Coast is that they never truly wanted to play into holding things downstairs and just trying to delay upstairs. It was a very aggressive front from them that they thought was going to work against TSM, but surely not. TSM just had the kill matrix set up upstairs, if that's what you want to call it. The angles were just really too harsh, especially with the initial play from Beast Coast inside of the upstairs office space. You really don't want to be swinging too harshly early on, especially off just getting that drone. I mean, you're more than likely going to be running into somebody on upside down rappel, and that angle is just very, very difficult to fight in quite a few different circumstances. So unlucky for them, but a great start here for TSM as opposed to what happened last week.
All right, so as we get into round number 2 here, we'll see if Beast Coast are going to change anything up dramatically. We're just going to get a 6-pick over towards the Bandit here as they try to hide that going into their second floor hold, as we still have that pivotal quad wall split between the two, or rather the double wall, I do believe, that needs to be held here by the members of Beast Coast in the midst of this round. But we're also going to see the Tachanka come out also. Smoke not banned out this time around, so we're still going to see him picked up as well, as it's a double delay comp from Beast Coast here between those two operators, along with a whole bunch, you could argue like quad delay here with what they've truly brought between young Alec and Fozo as well, the Castle and the Bandit to get in the way, and then of course the Jaeger to mitigate some of that utility, which is always needed still in this current meta.
I'm glad you pointed out the castle, because it's a huge part to the top stairs defense here, especially for the castle barricades that he's actually set up, especially these ones inside of checkers. This is going to limit a lot of the window rappel angles that are usually taken up, especially around the ATM area, which is that front lobby space that you can see through the pillars. So that's going to block off a lot of those cross angles and just make it a little easier for the Beast Coast defensive members to breathe. That's really what it is at the end of the day. When you leave all these windows down, it's just difficult to play space in general. So that's exactly what they're going to be trying to limit with these windows overall. Either way, though, Beast Coast are set and prepared for their defensive set up against TSM. It's the top floor defense for the very first time here. I'm interested to see how this double delay goes with Anthony and Jay. More than likely just going to be playing for some staircase space, as well as the initial plant going down, more than likely in sight of CEO. Very forward position here for Sippin inside of Janitor as well. That could get him into some trouble later on, but we'll have to see how it plays out.
Y'all already getting that good intel on a Sippin setup inside of Jay itself. Meanwhile, for the man himself, Jay, he's still going to be waiting back over in meeting for potential duel to come his way here on the Tachanka. Important that he stays alive, though, like you said before, because of his contribution to the overall delay with those incendiary grenades that'll come out later on in the round. But because Anthony's alive, it's not going to be the end of the day. If he goes down, that job can also be fulfilled by him. Rest of the members of Beast Coast are holding the threshold against the window repels right now. No one able to successfully challenge inside of hallway, but Alec, with the first hop out we see, it is negated instantly, however, by Achieved as one goes down, and the second follows Merc, also coming out with a quick pick. A nice bounce off the nade does damage to Fozo, but it's going to be a little too far to knock him down.
Difficulty now for Beast Coast, and Achieve's going to strike true with that grenade as well. Fozo defaulter, Achieve to tag on. Is this going to be back-to-back flawless rounds from TSM?
Yes, it is.
It will be. Anthony goes hunting through his own smoke, and, well, TSM yet again put Beast Coast in a body bag. They don't even have a chance to try and get one of these frags. I'm just at a loss for words right now. It's simply just getting fragged out in every sense of the term. I mean, we see an aggressive front from them initially, and we talked about that the last round. TSM are set up for this. They know that Beast Coast want to try and get in their face, and they try for it yet again, and it's going to fail one more time. I want to see Beast Coast make an adjustment here, because simply throwing their bodies at TSM is not the answer.
At the end of the day, that was an incredibly quick follow-through for TSM as well, shutting that one down, I think, only about halfway or less through the round there, as it's just a matter of them getting drone intel, which in this case is fairly easy because of the immediate access they have from the windowsills, as well as their access from the square entry and the stocks entry too. But once they have that, it's a pretty quick follow-through for the Repel players to get those first picks on site, immediately weakening the overall site setup and allowing for the rest of the team to crunch it. But I think mainly square, but a couple other angles getting used by TSM in the final moments as well there. Beast Coast just could not withstand in any sense, and they fall to pieces very, very quickly. Hopefully that improves now as we go back to another basement hold on the third round.
Thank you, Cyano, for showing us that new hatch as well that's been added here on the base floor. Ends up dropping you down into the vault down low. Also, a little bit of an update to the room below the elevator hatch as well, if you wanted to show that off, my friend. Oh, it's the other one, I believe. I think it's the one downstairs.
One of the basement.
Yeah, it's the one down there. But either way, we're about to get into the round, and that's definitely more important than whatever the heck we're talking about. Beast Coast are going to have some sort of a hold upstairs. We'll at least see a castle barricade here inside of checkers leading into the front office space. This is going to be across the entire board, though, that Beast Coast are going to be going for this roam game once again. We saw them go for something similar the last time around. It was quickly dealt with by TSM, and they didn't even actually have to hit the site. Beast Coast presented themselves on the mid floor and lost all of those bodies without a single one being refragged. But now, this time, hopefully, it'll be a touch more successful.
They already know Anthony's here. They just don't know the exact position. It's very possible that drone followed through, but never mind. Merc still has it in the same spot. It can see into the office, however, so it's going to be able to spot out that player waiting in staff. Anthony trying to catch one of the members of TSM as they attempt to move in through the staff kitchen, but so far no success in that regard. Anthony going to continue to maintain control over this area, whereas the rest of the players exercise it elsewhere. Two upstairs holding, looking to fend off some of this pressure from Bolo that's coming in on the one of the remaining, anyway, window repels. They've taken out quite a few of them here. Merc actually going to swing in as well from the other side, so a very quick pinch against this hold. We'll isolate out the footsteps, obviously, since he's on the Jackal. Let's see who's hiding around here, and it's not going to find either one of these players, so that's an issue being presented. Oh, never mind. It does actually spot Alec. Sorry about that. Just didn't show up on our UI. So either way, Alec going to fall back now after being spotted out, and he'll head downstairs.
This is so risky. So many disjointed moves coming in from all of these players. Gio went out the initial one. Saw quite a few bodies working on that upstairs clear as well. Gio was a part of that, but he simply slinked on in down low into Archives. Finds the initial frag onto Sippin, although Beast Coast have delayed quite a bit of time given this roam game, so we'll see what TSM can do going forward with their hard destruction. They are going to have two very easy to use at the end of the day hard destructors in the like of Thermite and A, so these hatches should go pretty quickly here. It's just what the execute comes through after that. Young Alex is going to run into some problems inside of the elevator, and they simply cannot buy a frag right now if they wanted to. Alec will go down as well, and Bolo will continue his reign of terror. Merc's going to get one as well, as he simply cannot stay off of Bolo's kill count, as they're both tied up at 4 currently.
Merc going to try to look for another one here as they inch forward. I mean, at this point, I don't even think TSM is too afraid to directly challenge some of these positions, even though they know Beast Coast players are going to be aimed at them. TSM's record for winning these is fairly flawless so far. There's not much to fear for them as they continue to run through these defensive setups. Working on doing one of them right now. The access to the site's actually going to be left soft as Beast Coast did not have the extra reinforcement or did not have the time to actually block that one off. Pushing through the smoke, though, will finally lead to some damage against TSM. The plant, though, going in is quickly going to make up for the lost player count. Bolo going down, but it's instantly traded out by Merc and one other pick from TSM to win the round.
It doesn't even look like TSM's missed a beat here on Bank. I mean, they're working at these angles as well as just their team play overall to just shut down these Beast Coast members. It's basically impossible for them to try and take these gunfights. I mean, really the only one that they could have hoped to have got early on was the Vigil, and the gunfight back and forth that he had inside of Archives up against Geo. So just unfortunate for them thus far that they haven't been able to work this strategy exactly how they wanted to. So they might be changing things up going forward, but we're going to get a timeout first here from Beast Coast because these rounds have been so unbelievably difficult for them. It's been 3 rounds, 15 times they have been presented frags, and they've only been able to get one.
You gotta ask yourself a difficult question now if you're Beast Coast here, because I would assume the strategy pool isn't going to be that deep for this map, save from what they might know from when this map
I mean,
was
you
in the
say
pool.
that just to put this on you say that, but they're going staff room open area, which is one that we don't see that often. To be fair.
Yeah, fair enough counterpoint. So willing to extend at least into the sites that we don't normally see get played out. But how creative are we going to get here? Is this going to be still the same setup we would see teams try to shift towards the last time this was played with an emphasis on the upstairs hold in stock? Or are we going to see something new out of Beast Coast? That'll be my big question as we go into it here, as the initial strategy for these first 3 rounds clearly has not worked in any sense. Don't need to stress that any more than it's obvious in front of us right now. And they're going to be stretching to try and make up for it now for the remaining 3 rounds in this half. Otherwise, TSM is going to have an absolutely massive lead as they only take their first death in that very last round.
Yes, indeed, my friend. And as we get off the timeout, folks, we'll see if this is indeed the lock. And obviously it is. The entire lineup locked in here. We're going to staff room open area for the defense. We'll have a 6 pick here for Geo off of the Nomad back onto the Ash. And he's been pretty productive thus far with that. But it's really been Chief Bolo and Merc that have been just simply bowling over the entirety of this defense that has had no chance to try and fight back thus far. Now with staff room being the selection here, this site's actually pretty unique when it comes to Bank, as it's the only site in the entirety of Bank that you can access from above as well as below and drop out of it, unless obviously you have Oryx where you can jump back up through things. But it's the only one in the entire area that has access like that, where you can drop into it from the top floor and still escape the site from a hatch as well. So this is going to make it to where BC have to hold most of this floor, as well as likely some things going on upstairs to delay some time. And it does look like that is going to be the case, but obviously Archives as well as Teller's office going to be quite important to the overall story of round 4.
Nope. We continue to see that upstairs hold maintained by Beast Coast. Looks like it's going to be primarily done from a different spot, though. Direct contestation onto the stocks room is what we would sometimes tend to see previously, along with this usual extension over here into Square, Archives, and Tellers. But yeah, as we can see for Beast Coast, big emphasis right now going to be going on to Meeting, and now Banana as well, because the defenders have more access to it, but that seemingly is just not going to matter. Bolo rips apart another player, and although, yes, he finally takes a death on his kill counter in the previous round, he already makes up the difference here by getting the first kill on the next one here. Fozo down for the count. Let's see who's going to take the challenge next.
The info was just too solid from TSM. This is all calculated. Look at the amount of drones that Bolo has in this space. He had one up on top of ATM, on top of the actual pillar area, so he can see up and on to Banana. And he's also got another one spaced out here that'll assist Merc in clearing this top space. They even have more drones that are patrolling the area as well. Alec in a lot of trouble, and he's going to go down. This isn't all a fluke, folks. That's what I'm trying to tell you. TSM are on one today, and Beast Coast just happened to be on the receiving end.
This is very similar to when I think Chalet came into the pool a couple of months back as well. TSM, if I recall correctly, was also one of the first teams to adventure out and bring that into their pool as well. So it seems like the same thing could very well be happening here again for Bank, if this match is anything to indicate it by. Beast Coast once more on their 4th defensive round, still falling apart at the seams, still barely able to trade anything out with only a single kill in these 4 rounds so far, and TSM still absolutely dominating at every single opportunity as we get closer and closer to the site execute here, boiling down to the last minute.
I mean, so far this has just simply seemed impossible for Beast Coast. They're fighting a war they cannot win. 2 versus 5 right now going into the last minute for them, and they're going to need a lot of work here, and it could possibly start with Anthony. He'll move out of kitchen, but they have a drone on that too, John. So Gio's going to pre-fire him around the corner. Sippin will be able to get one. It's going to be on to Merc. He'll die for the very first time, but Chala's already putting a plant down, and they don't exactly have a counter to that now, do they? Sippin can't get up this hatch. He'll only be able to play it out like this, get some damage off onto Bolo as he'll slide into small office, but they have space to work inside of here as well, and with no Nitro Cell, Sippin can't exactly have anything to do with that work anyways. He's going to move back towards Marble as he'll start climbing the staircase. Nobody home currently, except he will have some crosses around the area. They're soon going to hop into the teller's office, though. It's going to be Bolo once again here. If there's one man to hand an AK-12, it'd probably have to be Jason Doty, and so far he's proven why he has it.
Beast Coast are averaging half a kill a round right now. This is
wouldn't it be a quarter a kill around? Oh, never mind. They actually got one. Yeah, never mind. I take it back. I take it back.
Do math. Don't do math.
I take it back. Don't do math live, folks. Don't do math live.
Only do it when you're not talking, because then you can think for yourself. But yeah, half a kill a round right now for Beast Coast is all they're able to negotiate for themselves. And when the stats are that dire, they pretty much speak for themselves. This is just unfortunate at the moment here for Beast Coast, as TSM, obviously to their credit, continues to dominate here, but it's not leaving any room for Beast Coast to do even the slightest bit of playmaking, as they're just being executed the moment they try to even take a step out into TSM's POV.
Yeah, I would love to be able to give some insight as to what Beast Coast needs to change up, but I mean,
everything.
Yeah, like what exactly do you say to that?
Yeah,
like it's not the fact of being mean. It's just being real at the end of the day. Beast Coast just are simply having a very, very poor game right now, and it's just being driven home by how solid of a game TSM is having. I mean, this info game especially has been so paramount to their success, especially with these kills coming early. I mean, TSM, especially Bolo, just simply walking into ATM swings right into Fozo and immediately takes him off the playing field in the first 40 seconds. And that's as a hard breacher. He's swinging that angle and getting those frags.
Hey,
so,
fair,
you know, yes, yeah, you know, I was actually having this conversation.
Hard breach at least. Yeah.
I was having this conversation with my friends a couple of days ago, and I was like, every fragger decided that they would play hard breach as soon as Ace came into the game. Like, as soon as you got the AK-12 off a fuse, it's like, you know, hard breach probably isn't that bad, you know? It'll be fine. I'll try it out. And you guys can see why the TTK on this gun is just absurd. I mean, if I'm telling you right now, if you have to play hard breach for the very first time, just play Ace. It'll make your life a heck of a lot easier. But speaking of making lives easier, Beast Coast for the very first time inside of round 5 will get their first blood. They're going to take down Merc, and that's going to remove a little of this info game. He's had pretty good influence over that mid round with those Jackal tracks.
More importantly, he's been great for trying to pinch out between him and Bolo any of the action that would be going on in this main hallway as well. So they need to have someone else fulfill that role, which means more than likely rotating Charla or Achieved over to do so, or as we can already see to some degree, having Geo move in and slot himself into this role as well. But Geo might have other things to worry about here. He's going to move forward, try to open up potentially some top-down angles here to knock out a member of Beast Coast and hopefully equalize things before we go down into the site execute. Still Softwall left alive here on the site as well, which is of a change-up from what we would normally get here, but given the change-up to the map and the greater defense that Alec is going to have from this further back position, see where it works. Here's going to be the opening, though. No resistance on that wall breach, so it goes through for TSM. They have the access to the site they need, but do they have enough control to potentially swing in on these repels or just hold the angles necessary to stop the retake from Beast Coast in the execution itself? Geo still looking for a path forward, still looking for anyone at Beast Coast might peep out here and give away a potential kill opportunity too, but no, Polo goes hunting, comes out with nothing, and Fozo returns the favor instead. Beast Coast may finally be getting their feet on the ground here, as TSM cannot seem to find a pick against them on this upstairs hold.
Well, Titans can bleed as it's David versus Goliath right now in between these two. Minimum time remaining for this offense to get something done with their control of Square. Achieved making some adjustments, but Fozo with a second kill of the round. That's that new update for the ump as well, coming through with the 1.5. It's been on for a little while, but just a friendly reminder to you folks, these ranged fights a little bit easier for him now. Chala, though, will finally put Fozo in the dust, but that doesn't mean that TSM are out of the thick of it just yet. Beast Coast still have some very strong positioning, and it doesn't look like TSM are going to be able to crack any of this at the end of the day. Some very solid angles taken up, especially around the janitor's space. Achieved trying to propel himself forward, but it's going to be Chala to strike first. Achieved really needs a frag inside of this space as well. Sippin on the receiving end right now. Stun starting to come in. He'll avoid the first one. Alec with a frag. Achieved springs two. Down into the 1 versus 2. Can he get it done? Alec gone, and now Anthony, the last remaining member. Doesn't have the SMG-11 anymore to move faster, though, and he simply can't get up the hallway in time. I'm telling you, John, if Sledge still had that SMG-11, there was a chance in hell that he gets that, but he has to keep the L85 out as it's a better weapon. And, well, round 5, finally, Beast Coast are able to get something.
Anthony smartly choosing not to challenge in that 1v1 as well, kind of for the obvious reasons. Just look at the overall record on that and how Achieved even got into that situation. That would certainly be a critiquable move at the minimum if he tried to go for it, even if he ended up winning it there. So nicely done to just wait out the timer, play that one safe, and even though it was close on his run around there at the final second of the round, ends up closing it down. And more importantly, Beast Coast finally get a round on the board, and a somewhat convincing one as well. Even though it goes down to a 1v1, they read that TSM wants to go for a direct square push, so they set up basically a trench in the back lines of that site to fire through and take down anyone from TSM that tried to push past it.
That's the greatest way to describe that as well. They grabbed all of the more magnified guns to play at that range and just try and simply take the gunfights to TSM. Except out of all the other times where it didn't work, this time it did, and it was really the start that ended up catching TSM off guard. Bolo almost ended up getting a kill, but sadly enough, not the case. Fozo instead able to fire back, just like we were talking about earlier with the bullet tracers getting you in a little bit of trouble when you do end up hitting those long sprays. Fozo counters with the exact same move and takes him out in very, very similar fashion. So for TSM, it'll be back to the drawing board after they get their hands burned just a little bit on that last round, but that doesn't mean that this has to stop now. Could be a 5-1 lead for them at the half as we jump into round 6.
The bunker setup upstairs works, and they're going to rely on it somewhat going into the 6th round here as well, because we're back to the staff defense, I do believe, downstairs, as they'll be once again extending into Projector as well as any of these other CEO-oriented rooms to try and defend it. Sippin, though, a little bit more adventurous this time, now that Beast Coast has learned, indeed, that they can kill the members of TSM somewhat consistently. Sippin's going to try his luck one more time with a position towards the front lobby. No drones here either. Bolo's usually been fairly cautious with this approach, and once again, it's the same for this round. He's going to catch the moves from Sippin, although he's not able to eliminate him. That job will fall to Achieved on an alternate angle.
As you'd expect out of TSM, it's the team play that gets them through this instead of the individual. They'll take down Sippin, although they might run into some more obstacles early here. We got a pulse downstairs in Archives that'll give up a lot of this intel for Beast Coast, what they can get done and achieved. He has been, oh my god, not like that! He takes Fozo out on the castle barricade and immediately gives Alex, oh, that's
Achieved,
just
like Rambo,
unfortunate.
dude.
That's what I'm saying. Alec had no idea what was going on around that space. A castle barricade blows up and then he simply loses his life. No chance to actually try and fight back there. And now Beast Coast once again walking into the halfway mark and around with only 2 members remaining.
Dominating everything in this round so far, playing off some great intel from his teammates there. Bolo obviously having to take the heat so he could get his first kill against Sippin, but these second 2 were all him. Maybe some intel support coming in from one of his other teammates. Perfect nade and the immediate follow-up once he gets his gun back out onto a 3rd kill as well. And all that, I believe, coming from the rappel. All 3 of those kills are fairly close to it. So very well done from him to put TSM back on the right foot forward pretty much immediately after they drop a round. Now, we're not over yet. Still a minute to go in this round, so that's plenty of time for TSM to work a 5v2. Those 2 players are going to be the trickier ones here for Beast Coast. Neither of them have been able to negotiate a kill so far inside of this game, but a lot of intel still going to be coming their way, specifically with Jay still alive here on the pulse. It's going to be hard to use that heartbeat sensor, however, with slowly all this top-down control going away. Jay's going to be able to mark himself a first kill. Instantly, the trades come in, though, and TSM still control themselves a 5-1 half after everything is said and done in their favor.
Well, I'm pretty sure that TSM have simply just taken Bolo and Merc off the leash. I think that that's what's happened, honestly, because these 2 have been so dynamic throughout the entirety of that offensive half. Extremely impressive across the board as they simply almost seem chained to each other in a sense, John. Constantly working these angles together, especially in the late round, and just getting things done. Beast Coast cannot fight back. Even when they're able to take down one of them, the other one's there to refrag, or if somebody happens to run out of bullets, like that case, Bolo will be there to strike. TSM now onto the defense as they lead 5-1.
Well, it's TSM's turn to play around on the playground a little bit here now, as they're going to have all the freedom that comes with the defensive half of this map. We already saw the members of Beast Coast trying to play around with their roam game quite a bit, but instantly we're going to see something different from TSM, a site that the members of Beast Coast, I don't believe, tried to defend whatsoever inside of the first half. We're going back to Tellers for the first time, so we do get to play out all 4 sites on this map in the very first play. That's great to see. All teams feel there's viability in some department at every single site here. But once more, TSM will stretch themselves and see if they can close things down quickly, with 2 more rounds needed to do so inside of this defensive half.
Okay, so TSM, for the very first time here, they'll be outfitting things very similar to what we saw from Beast Coast on their defense's top floor. Again, very important to the overall story of what happens on Bank usually. You really want to keep these roamers safe and try and delay as much time as possible. Now, this is going to be a basement defense, I do think, at a minimum here. Can't really tell. It could be on that mid-floor. Yes, indeed. There we go. I just wanted to make sure. That's why I was covering my bases, folks, because you never really know with those top floors when you're staring at them. It is going to be the mid-floor here, which actually kind of acts as like a central hub for this map overall. You have to work the outside stairwells to kind of get to this space, and for TSM, that's why they're going to be holding on to a lot of these different areas. If you guys remember Bank back in the day, especially when Evil Geniuses was playing it a lot, Marble Stairs plays into this quite a bit, and we used to see a lot of castle barricades around the E2 hallway to try and hold on to Marble Stairs so you can play the cross for the A site. As for B, that plays a lot for the top floor as well as just the site players in general, but we'll have to see what TSM can do early on here. It could all be decided in the first minute.
Although waiting for his first opportunity to strike against the window repels here, which are already working their way up to deal with this extended play. TSM, when it comes to this second floor play, does not have the greatest amount of support on their 2 separated players here, although that has changed up a bit. It's looking a little bit healthier now. However, Bolo, to have the yellow ping come out against him, what use will it lead to, though? A nade going against him, unfortunately, is a bit short. That shelving saving his life in part here, but the distance more than anything leading to it. The Zofia ready to swing around. This is all a matter of timing right now for Bolo here. He's been spotted out by, I think, two different drones now. There's one in the room in front of him and one to his right. He's going to take the one out to his right, still has the other one in the inside of CEO, causing problems for him, but he's alive. He's still here to some extent, and Chala on the TCSG is going to pick up an opening kill instead here as Bolo tries to survive. Two more nades coming his way. Finally, one takes him out. It's actually going to be Fozo running right through the inside of front desk here that takes both him and Merc out of the fray.
Somebody had to get something done. I mean, Bolo allowed to exist in there for so very long. Finally, I thought that last frag grenade would get it, but it's Fozo, as you said, to strike true first. They've run out of every single drone, though, it seems to be on this offense, all except for Jay's set that he'll be using right now to try and find these last TSM members. But they're set up around this space. Achieve working the top of Marble as well as Geo in tow to try and assist him. East Coast have to try and hop to on this mid floor. They need to get this wall broken up, and that's where Fozo comes in once again. His torch work will be paramount to getting this wall open and at least a plant attempt going on. Chala, as you'd expect, inside of the site. We saw him with an earlier frag that really popped things off for TSM, as they'll be able to equalize with Geo as well.
Geo, a big kill here. Now Chala, a lot more pressure beginning to build up against him with the TCSG. This could be an awkward fight if things get a little bit too close for comfort. That pressure, though, slowly building itself closer and closer towards him. He's going to need to call for team support now, and there we go. Jay knocking him out. Advantage to Beast Coast as we go into the final seconds of the round. Geo going for a big rotate. It's being watched, but it doesn't matter. Geo still shuts out Anthony anyway. Can't deny the plant, though. He has no vision on the planter itself. Different for Achieve, but still it won't matter as the plant goes down onto the ground here. The timer starts ticking in Beast Coast's favor, but the player count is not. Jay with a great trade, though, brings us back on even terms just when it was lost, and he's going to try to do this with his sidearm here. Flash is chucked out. Should have been able to blind at least in part off that first one, but now we're going to see Geo hold back, wait things out. Explosive. The Nitro Cell goes in to make a bigger hole here and hopefully give him an angle against Jay, but Jay's smart about this. Continues to play it back, continues to wait. However, Geo comes out on top with the quad instead, and he's going to push TSM up on match point.
The timing there, Blue, was insane for Geo. He works that so very well, and unfortunately enough for Jay, just too stagnant in the angle that he was holding, although it was very scary either way you put it. For either team, that could have gone either way. Beast Coast, though, once again, unlucky inside of the clutch. They're not able to win it inside of the post plant, and that was... All right, Geo. Okay, man.
Not the first one to do that, but
anyways, he TSM is just looking so unbelievably solid right now, man. He's just, especially for Geo inside of that last round. I know he gave himself the nice shot, but he really was the MVP of that. A quad kill for him on the round, as well as a clutch, all inside of the same breath. So 6-1 now for TSM as they're looking to take this 7-1 overall. These defenses are looking stacked right now for them. That top hold especially, although Beast Coast eventually able to break it up with Fozo, wasted so much time, and really TSM able to fight back in very convincing fashion after that.
Yeah, I mean, Bolo's still getting a bit of a gold star on that round, in my opinion, between him and his teammate playing upstairs and whoever may have been feeding Bolo info during that time, as he had so much pressure boiling down on him. Multiple different, I think 3 different frag grenades thrown at him at one point as well, and he's able to waste all of that utility up to the final grenade when him and his teammate do go down, along with 9 of the drones that Beast Coast had. That's a big part of that, too, is in the final couple of seconds, there were no presets on the site for the members of Beast Coast to play off of there, so they were going in blind, or just what they had previously gathered about the setup from TSM, and that's all credit to Bolo and his teammate upstairs there for wasting a large majority of that.
Absolutely. Now TSM with an opportunity here to only drop 1 round as the inaugural bank of 2021 here for the NAL. TSM going to be holding on to the top floor here for just a little bit of time, although they will have that mid floor covered as well, and achieved. I'm honest. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. That's totally a mistake. He did not mean to have that shotgun. It's pretty bad at the end of the day. So he's gonna have the SMG, or excuse me, the SMG. He's not gonna have the SMG, but he will have his sidearm here to at least assist for the time being. If this works out in close engagement, it could be pretty crazy. But instead, it's gonna be Sippin to take them out at range.
No capability to fight in the back there, and yeah, I'll agree now that that's probably gonna end up being a mistake pick from him, as he does not even put himself in a good position to.
I mean, how are you supposed to how are you supposed to play open area with that?
Yeah, no.
I mean?
Listen, I totally agree. No disagreements there. So TSM, that slight mistake will cost them big as they'll go down 4v5 with no team support in the nearby area to trade that back out either. Olo, though, moves in, still makes the trade happen anyway as he wraps back over. Drone's going to spot him out from right on the inside of Tellers. He does need to fall back from the site after that, which is a bit unfortunate as obviously his teammate upstairs could have used a bit of help here. Merc now running around, but Merc might be able to handle himself here. The members of Beast Coast don't seem to have him locked just as of yet. They get a chance to, but no. Anthony is none the wiser as Merc takes down his first target. Well, the drone on him with the jammer. He's able to avoid some of that intel as he wraps back over into meeting now, trying to take a duel with Jay, and it's a perfect headshot against Fozo to get himself a second. Goes for 3, but Sippin will finally take him down. However, the damage is done. It's still TSM in control at a 3v2 with over a minute left.
And what else do you expect out of TSM besides Bolo and Merc being the MVPs of a round? Bolo with the leadoff pick and Merc to send it home. Now, Beast Coast have to win it out in a clutch. It's a 2 versus 3. Minimal info to influence their decisions inside of this last minute as well, although Jay will still have both of his drones alive. That's a great hard breacher right there, folks. Either way, though, he still has both of his exothermic charges, and he'll use the initial one here inside the E2 hallway to pop the hatch for the elevator going down low. TSM will obviously be glaringly aware of that as the massive noise goes off right behind them. He's going to end up popping both of those, so it will be kind of a game of cups here for the TSM members to see exactly where Beast Coast want to try and throw this. Beast Coast, though, trying to throw one up the rear here. Sippin the slide right into the garage, and you can see the distraction trying to work its way in for TSM, but oh no. Seems like they're aware now. Chala, oh yes, glaringly aware of Sippin's positioning as he's still inside of the garage. Stepping up now, Chala's going to be able to play this back and forth on both ends. Stunts pouring in. Bolo will be able to assist with the garage angle now. Jay's going to get the initial fray, actually taking it down into the 2 versus 2, but beautiful shots here from Bolo. And Chala working the stairwell is going to make it too difficult for Jay to try and get into the site. That's a GG in the chat for all of you folks. TSM winning it 7-1.
TSM, just like when Chalet was brought into the pool, shutting it down again here on Bank in their very first play. Beast Coast thinks that they're going to be all right to take them to this new map. Clearly, that was not the case, as TSM was way too prepared for this matchup themselves, and they shut it down 7-1 in their favor, rebounding after a rough first week with a very quick victory here to get them 3 points on the league overall.
Yeah, achieved 10-3 inside of that one as well. It was just a TSM onslaught across the board. It'll be interesting to see what Chala's stats were for that one, because I feel like he just kind of got set on the back burner like, hey man, you can take this one off as a break. Just plan a diffuser every once in a while if you have to. Maybe hold an angle. We got this one. Don't worry about it. But a great game from TSM nevertheless. But for Beast Coast, especially after the showing last week, that is not how they wanted to come out today.
Well, for them now, they're still going to be successful as they take control over this matchup now and put themselves on good footing for the future. Hopefully, after a rough first week, TSM are looking much, much stronger now as they take control of this matchup in quick fashion versus Beast Coast. And like you said, a team affair across the board there. I don't even think Chala's stats are going to end up being that bad from an individual point of view, as there were still moments where we saw him contributing pretty well, such as some first kills there, able to bail Bolo, I think, out of a bad situation at least once on the very few amount of defensive rounds we played, but still, hopefully they're a little bit, because everybody else had at least one shining moment. And now we're going to send it back down to Veli to break this very quick match down, and the rest of the domination from TSM along the way. Veli, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. When the replay is brought to us by Predator, yes, TSM, they shut out in a big way, taking us to Bank. It was a fun time, but unfortunately it wasn't that fun for the likes of Beast Coast. Jesse and Jacob, help me break all this down.
Bro, I don't even know if we can successfully talk about how TSM were functioning differently as a team, or any of their role swaps, or talking about Merc having struggles, because none of that was something we had to worry about. This was just a TSM frag fest running over Beast Coast like it's a silver ranked lobby. This wasn't anything super spectacular or special. This is just pure, clear-cut domination. We overuse the word, but find a different adjective to describe exactly how this game went for TSM. Good grief.
Yeah, TSM's back. I mean, your one bad game to start off the stage is nothing to cry about. They came out and had a fantastic showing against Beast Coast today, and a well-earned victory for sure.
Yes, now fellas, let's go ahead and break all this down. And Jesse, the important part about all of this is the fact that Bank isn't the same, man. Can you talk us through, walk us through some of the changes and how it probably have affected this matchup?
Yeah, well, I don't even know if it's necessarily the changes themselves on this map that kind of had an impact here. This is the first time in the North American League that we're seeing Bank, and one thing that I noticed is that basement hold, typically back in the day when Bank was played, you'd always be seeing it held with a bunch of C4s, a pulse being utilized in that way to try to stop that plants, but we really didn't see that, and assumingly somewhere in North American scrims, the meta has changed to become more about the drone denial, more about that roam. Both TSM and Beast Coast played that bottom floor bomb site very aggressively with drone denial on the roam. TSM did it a lot better than Beast Coast did, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But really, it is interesting to see the way that these maps have evolved, even just based on the changes in the meta and the things that we've seen added to the game since Bank was last played inside of NA.
Hey, Jacob, if I kind of wish that when you and I were talking about role changes when it came to TSM with Gio and Shala, when we questioned how the role changes would be, I kind of wish someone from production came from the future and snapshotted this 100% cost that they currently have. And what they did so far here on this map is said, fellas, this isn't even worth talking about. TSM are looking so good, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, jobs were done appropriately. I don't think the role swap is something that either Chala or Gio got really stuck up on for any reason in this game. I thought it was working really well. Chala was still getting walls open. Gio was looking for opportunities to frag mid-round, especially after that initial entry had been cleared by Achieved. It just felt like everything was working like a well-oiled machine, but in an even better way. You didn't even have to get super strategic. It's just finding out that Beast Coast don't understand how to play Bank. Here's a fun fact for you. Even going back to Beast Coast's history as Bruh. Val, you remember Bruh back in the USN days?
The USN days with Blue, yes.
Yes. Beast Coast, even going back to their days as Bruh, never played this map. And if they did, it's something outside of the stats that SiegeGG has collected for us. So if I have that wrong, I do apologize. But they haven't played this. And when they were in CL, all of the NAL, they have had no reason to worry about this map before. And going into it, TSM also hadn't really played this map at all as a collective team. Individual players had gotten the chance to play on it, but never TSM as a whole. And this looks like TSM has been playing this map forever. It's like, hey, old friend, good to see you back. But it's crazy because neither one of these squads have actually legitimately played this map before.
Oh, Gio on Flex on Bank was just fire back in the days as well. But Jacob, if that stat line holds true, that is insane. That means that shout out to Data, by the way. Data and the rest of TSM, they definitely did their homework. But one last thing, Jesse.
Yeah.
My man Sippin. We hype a lot of players on this team. Anthony dropped a donut on the day. Sippin, I just remember hanging up on the phone call and I saw him on Zofia going 1-7.
Wow.
What was going on, man?
I mean, it was a lot of those roams that I was talking about a while ago, right, where you're playing these basement defenses and even some other defenses. Their open area defense is another great example of this, where Beast Coast are trying to make this drone denial work, but unfortunately Sippin, who's been playing on the Vigil, is just a little bit too far extended away from the rest of his team. He's not running around the map as much as he's just sort of sitting in one location, and there's so many angles on Bank that you can get from up above on the roof or from a window or from a doorway from outside the building or where have you, that he was always getting caught off guard. Even with Vigil, he was still being caught on drones, still being shut down. TSM did a great job of that. Contrast it to the way that TSM did their drone denial, and it was a lot more mobile. They were falling back to site when they were being droned out. They were running around on the top floor. We saw that from Merc, and so it was just a lot better from the side of TSM when they were going for that style of a hold.
All right, now, fellas, let's talk about the entirety of the day, right? Jacob, so it's time for MVP, right? And there's one name that all of us know might be the winner of this, even though he was on a losing team. Who is it?
We don't have games where someone gets 20 kills very often. Man, this is weird
22.
because it would be a case where it's like, hey, maybe we give it to someone who's on a losing team, if the game was close, but the Astralis game wasn't close. I don't mind giving it to J9O simply because of best overall performance of the day, but that still wasn't a close game for Astralis at all, so I'm kind of hesitant. I mean, I don't know. I don't think production's going to care, but...
Yes.
I mean, once they, if they'd gotten to overtime, then totally, because that's value out of the team. What value did Astralis get out of that game? Kind of nothing, right? So I still think he played amazing, so it's it's deserved if he got it, but... It sucks the result they got despite his amazing performance today.
Looking up any other higher stat lines.
I will say this. If he did get it today, shout out to him. Yes, but also I think that we should rethink it if that is the case as well. No diss to anybody out there.
No.
I will say
no
this.
diss involved, but who else do you give it to?
If we would give it to someone else, fellas, I love this type of discussion. I would give it to Vertical.
Yeah, I think Vertical's a solid pick. I think Vertical played well. What about
Vertical's
MVK though? Right? I mean, he's been the worst player so far in the stage. Comes in today and has an amazing showing in against Sonics.
I was
Prod
thinking
would be
like an
good,
MVK,
too.
a Prod, maybe a Creators in that case.
Yeah.
Both, like all of them had really good games. If you want to do it someone from the TSM game, I would give it to Achieve just because that man had absolutely too much fun on Window Repels playing Sledge with nades. It was like, it was raining hell from above. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Well,
But,
we've had great plays and MVPs all around, and from the amazing discussion we just had, as you see, none of us have any idea what the MVP is, so whenever it's ready, let's slap it up on the screen because
Unleash
either
it.
way, I think these players definitely deserved it, right? But my money's going to be on J90.
There
The man popped off. Yes, they got the loss. Yeah, I know the talks about that, but still, the ace, the plays, the man was unstoppable. And with 22 kills on Coastline, against a team like Oxygen, by the way, folks, this young gunner is just crazy.
Yeah, and 22 kills, we actually did get it confirmed for this year. CGG tweeted it out, but with 22 kills, he will tie the NAL year 2 kill record, and he ties his teammate as well. Shuttle currently had 22 kills this year in the NAL. The difference being Shuttle got that in 15 rounds, whereas J90 got it in just 11 rounds. Imagine if Astralis had pushed this to round 15, how many kills he'd be at.
And this might be one of the highest ratings I think we've seen in the NAL so far, a 2.26 by
pretty
CGG
high.
standards, which anytime you get anything above a 2, that's already ridiculous. Anytime you're already starting to push 2.5, I actually do want to like get a double check on who's had the highest rating in a best of 1 because that's ridiculous.
There's
Yeah, I
been
know,
a
woke
couple
up.
2.0s, but yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. He woke up and chose violence. He watched his anime, watched Ten's aim train, and now he's here just tearing it up. 22-6. Yeah, I know. Shout out to the MVP of the day. Unfortunately, though, Astralis did not get that win. Let's talk about the standings. Now, Jacob, the power ranking standings that you usually have during the pre-show are really fun to watch and all. And like we all know, at the end of the day in the NAL, things are going to go up and down. But currently right now, Oxygen are still #1 on the list, but the #2 team, Jacob, Sonics, that was a huge loss that they had against XZ, even though they're still going to be in that second spot.
Dude, yeah, look, well, you see the chevrons on the left side? Everybody either moved up or down today. Even SSG, who didn't have a game today, moved down because of how the rest of this shook out. But this is really cool to watch. Mirage, no wins yet. They'll still rock like bottom 2. Beast Coast dropping all the way from top 4 to 8th place with how many rounds they lost in that TSM game. And TSM, for their own part, shoot up several spots into 4th above SSG. That is a really interesting one. So top 4 is beginning to look a little bit normal, like that top 5, so to speak. But it's is anyone else getting flashbacks to how like the first part of stage 1 looked? Because this is looking pretty similar.
I mean, I would argue that this is actually unprecedented in the North American League. We're 3 Playdays in, and we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-way tie for 3rd place. I mean, 3 points for all teams, Dark Zero to Beast Coast. That's kind of insane. The standings themselves, based off of the round differential, are looking more or less what we've seen before, but that is an insane tie we've got going on, and it makes the next couple of games so much more important.
Fellas, I think times are changing right now. We're talking about the top 4, the top 5, and whatnot. Mirage is currently 0-3, but do you see who's moving on up right now?
Which one?
XZ, man. I'm talking about XZ.
Oh, there we go.
I think this is actually one of the first times we don't see XZ down there, but not to meme it or anything like that. But as we talk about the NAL and just how special the league is, right? Teams like them, teams like Beast Coast, we're constantly seeing this type of progression. And imagine if XZ really starts to turn this ship around and we start to see them rise up slowly but surely. So, come around next season, these guys can frag all out. But let's take a look at the schedule as well, because like we've said previous play days, this is part of our super week. Jesse, looking at the schedule right now, do you see what I see with Dark Zero versus TSM?
Oh, that's going to be such a good test for Dark Zero finally coming back against a really reinvigorated TSM that just won their first game of the stage today. So that'll be a very spicy one, of course. Canadian and the rest of Dark Zero, they know TSM as opponents, but they're not very well known themselves in their current form.
Jacob, if there was a match that you were just so hyped about for Playday number 4, what would it be, my guy?
Well, there's two that I'm looking at. I'm looking at Mirage and Xset, which you might call me crazy for saying it, but this low-key should be a pretty interesting game. Is Mirage going to continue the downward trend, or can Xset find another dub? So that'll be cool, because it's two teams that are within the bottom 3 at the minute, and then Astralis versus SSG. We look at Dark Zero and TSM as the two heavy hitters, but somewhere in the middle of the pack, these two guys had to clash, and it's coming at a really interesting time because both of them have suffered some pretty bad losses as of late. So I'm really keen to see how that one goes. Matches 1 and 3 for me, Veli.
Yo, Jacob, those dogs are hungry, man. But talking about hungry, I'm hungry to get back on this broadcast with both of you tomorrow. Yes. Oh,
sorry.
But Jacob, you already know what happens at the end of the show, man. It's been nothing but love. It's been nothing but fun. We also got a really good upset today, something that we love to see here on this desk. Tell the audience why they should definitely tune in for some more Rainbow Six Siege action tomorrow.
Well, I think we're seeing some teams that we've always categorically pinned as being kind of meh have some changes or some resurfaces, so to speak. We've seen Xset get a dub against a very potent Sonics. We saw Beast Coast get a win against that Xset team last week. I don't think all of Beast Coast is dead in the water, so it'll be nice to see if they can continue doing better than they did in stages 2 and 3. We've seen Mirage have a really hard fall from grace. We're watching Canadian come back to a squad. We're looking at TSM make a role change, and we're watching OXG and Sonics fight for that top spot. Everything in the North American League from stage to stage is different every single time, and it's great watching how these stories progress. Do teams rise? Do teams fall? So far, we're already looking at a couple potential underdog stories and maybe even possibilities for staying in or out of relegations at the end of stage 3, because we do have that coming up. Everything about the NAL in stage 3 looks like it's unprecedented, and it's really fun to watch.
Jesse, man, you got the biggest brain I've ever seen in the world, man. How did you feel about today, and what are you excited about tomorrow? What do you guys say to the viewers out there?
Valley, if there's one thing we learned today, and we should have known it all along, North America is the most competitive region in Siege. This league has been so fun to watch. It is anybody's game. Yeah, sure, maybe Auction are running away with the lead. Okay, but the rest of these teams fighting for top 4, fighting for SI, Valley, it hasn't been closer than this in a very long time. So tomorrow, we'll see this 6-way tie broken, I'm sure. Who's going to come out on top? It's very hard to say, but of course, we'll be here to find out tomorrow.
You guys heard it from the guys who said it best, and me, I'm the desk host Veli, along with my analysts Jesse and Jacob. We're gonna shut this desk down, but I want today to just be a reminder that the NAL is more special than ever, and there's a reason why we do it best, right? Coming up tomorrow, we actually have a banger of a matchup between Dark Zero and TSM. With old faces and new in the mix, we finally have the likes of Canadian back in the NAL. Tier 1 with Canadian is always good news, but he's facing off against an old teammate in Geo. I want to see how all of that plays out, and you should see how it plays out as well. So hopefully, I see all of you beautiful people in the chat tomorrow, and we can't wait. We'll catch you all next time for some more Rainbow Six.